I'm talking today with Ray Bakerjian. Ray is the Electric Vehicle Program Development Manager for SAE International. Ray, I have been to a number of events that you've been holding over the past few years, EV events. From what I see, they look to be very well attended. What do you think SAE has accomplished with these events, and what is some of the feedback that you've received from attendees?
Thank you very much. It is an area of development for the industry itself, and we feel it's important for us to be there. We're trying to cover as much of the segment as possible with a variety of shows. We just finished a show in Anaheim this year. It was in its 10th year, and we were lucky to have as a keynote speaker Shinichi Abe. Abe-san is with Toyota, and he was instrumental in getting controls developed for the hybrid system. And that event covered 3 days, and it covered hybrid vehicles, hybrid electric vehicles, and then electric vehicles. And that particular event will actually speak to the whole segment, and we would bring in experts talking about the future of the vehicle, how it affects emissions. We had a very fine speaker come in and talk, Tom Coquette from California Air Resources Board, but he was typical of the types of reasoning why we have to develop this technology and other emission control type subjects. We also dove into some technology and tried to cover the gamut of all the different manufacturers. So that was one event that we do, Hybrid and Electric Vehicle Technology Symposium.
Well, it sounds very exciting.
And then coming up in March, we're doing an Electric Powertrain Technology Symposium. And this is a one-day event, and it's different from our other event way over on the West Coast there in that we try to develop this event to cover just the components that make up the powertrain. The event started out several years ago dealing with just the electric motor itself, one component in a hybrid electric vehicle's powertrain. But as you can imagine, it might not develop a following as readily. People might see, well, I've been to it last year. There's, the technology is really kind of stable. There's not any real breakthroughs, in my opinion. We thought, and I was looking at this and thinking that perhaps we should expand this event to cover the entire powertrain in the sense that you could pull the subject out of the car and put it on a display stand. So we don't really go into depth with, the environment and, complete range of vehicles that manufacturers produce. So, we're trying to do this. We've also got a battery event we're going to be doing. We had one in China a couple of years ago, but we're going to be doing a little bit more on battery cell size standardization. We're trying to cover a lot of bases. I look at this personally. When you look at all the other events out there, I try and design and try and create events myself that answer questions and direct themselves to problems that are out there, as opposed to just having a parade of people coming in and describing, an overall structure of a product line for a particular company. I'd prefer in the future that we try and develop these programs that say, well, battery cell size standardization, there's people looking at that. We can produce an event that would be meaningful for engineers to come in and talk and discuss and start maybe bringing down the number of standards that are out there for sizes. So engineers just look at, well, I've got a particular range of batteries I can use. I know all about them, and we can control them really good, and we'll just get the cars out there. So those are some of my personal feelings and what I think we are doing.
The one thing I immediately noticed, which you alluded to on the Electric Powertrain Technology Symposium that's coming up on March 12th, is that it addresses more of a system viewpoint of the vehicle rather than zeroing in on just a particular component. And any of us with an engineering background know that it's the system that you really have to pay attention to, not just individual components. And I think that also was something that was conveyed very well at the EV and HEV event that you just had in Anaheim. You mentioned the person from California Air Resources Board, and there were people who had presented life cycle analyses and a number of different areas of discussion that you don't normally see when you're just focusing in on components. I'm guessing that probably is going to be part of your strategy going forward. Are there any future plans as far as symposiums and technical events that you're looking at planning that you can share with us?
Well, there is the battery cell size standardization. I'm also intrigued by the idea that these systems get very, very large, and we're looking at possibly one that deals with maintenance of hybrid electric vehicle architectures and the complexities, possibly bringing in technicians to speak about what's been going on in the field, that kind of thing. So it's still in development. But we're happy with the events we have. We think they're a good platform and a good forum for engineers to come in and see what's going on and speak to their peers.
Ray, can you give me a little bit more of the details surrounding the Electric Powertrain Technology Symposium that's being held on March 12th in Indianapolis?
Sure. The show originally was directed towards just electric motors, and now there's the idea of perhaps making it a little bit wider reach. We do have 4 major sessions with this event. The first one will be report outs by OEMs, followed with a quick panel. And then we'll have the electric motor manufacturers step up, or people that are directly involved with that. Dave Fulton from REMI is going to be there. We'll have Jay Schultz from Parker Hannifin. And then there's going to be another session in the afternoon, which will deal with Tier 2 suppliers coming up and discussing their technologies, such as electrical steels and windings. But then new to this event is a power electronics session. There's several speakers there, including another gentleman from REMI, followed by a panel. So this is starting to fit the format of what I hope this event to grow into. I can see this eventually actually having a session on inverters and another session perhaps even on traditional components like transmissions and motors, ICE engines, how they actually hook up to the whole system. I didn't want to try and do that this time. I believe in a little bit of a transition, and I'm expecting by 2014 that we will be including more of these topics, and the event could possibly grow. I was looking at adding these topics to make it a little bit bigger event, possibly a day and a half, 2 days. So we're looking at this segment as growing and really hoping to support it better than just talking about electric motors.
As far as what you're planning in the future, anything that will grow the size of the event, I'm sure will be well received by the participants. I know that traditionally you have always had spaces where people have brought in tabletop exhibits from some of the supply chain to the automotive industry where they had the ability to talk about their products. Is that going to continue this year, and do you plan to continue that in the future?
Well, I don't have an exact beat on which exhibitors we have lined up, but that's pretty much what we would like to see. We would like to have the exhibitors that are really producing components or producing or suggesting solutions to creating drivetrains, to have them come by. And again, it's the idea of this event is anything that can be put on a display stand. So it's geared more towards the real hands-on engineers. They can come in and see these things and discuss and network.
Well, it sounds like it's going to, again, be a very interesting and successful event. We will very definitely be looking forward to it, Ray.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much, Bob.